Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody, Militia Man and Crew. I just want to welcome you guys to Patreon and our Discord chat room, and Militia Man and Crew bring an amazing amount of data in on the Iraqi Dinar, and we usually start off our day with fresh. Every time I wake up in the morning, I've got numerous articles, and one of the things that gets my day started is Freedom Forge coffee. Today was the Valor. It's a medium roast, Ethiopian blend. It's got the berry flavor. Kind of reminds me of me. So anyway, that fruity taste is awesome. So enjoy and have some. And don't forget, by the way, Militia Man 5 is the code, and don't forget, go to their website and check out all the things that they have to offer. They offer specials on a regular basis, so please join in and enjoy some good coffee. Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Militia Man and Crew. Today's tax day, and I hope everybody has a smile on their face. Hopefully, it's our last ever tax day that we're concerned about. But anyway, hey, enjoy the day. It's been a good one, and once again, Super Samson has been knocking it out of the park. It brings in information, and it's pretty pleasant to see that our Discord chat room runs so smoothly with all the communication. I know that a lot of people are really concerned about, what's delaying this, what's that. But ultimately, if we stick with the study and we read in our Patreon and our Discord chat room, you're going to find out that you have a lot of answers to all the questions, and then you get those from myself and the team members, etc. So, but the nice part about it is that we define the studies, because the fact is that we bring in and analyze a lot of really immense amount of data, and sometimes we do get it wrong, but sometimes we don't. But the value we bring in Patreon.com with Militia Man and Crew and Militia Man's chat room, keep that in mind. You can get all that, and you can feel confident that you can get up to date information. And we have it. We stick with the integrity. We try to just stick with the news, and so I hope you guys enjoy it tonight. And but thank you for being here, and thank you for your support. It's always greatly appreciated, and it helps keep this channel moving. Okay, this whole community moving. So much appreciated. This first article is called "The Banking Sector Update." And it says, Iraq has recently witnessed significant improvements on the political and economic and security fronts. I think we all know that the political, economic, and security fronts have really come full circle in this last year. And even more recently, the political side, as you'll see. The economic side, we can see that they have done all the things that they need to do to be able to get to where we are. In the security front, we have the security, the United States, Iraq, others, coalitions, all have supported Iraq for 20 years. And, well, with the United States having interests and other allies of the United States having significant interests in Iraq, I think the security for the investors, they feel confident, hence you have so many things going on. The Development Road Project is a main drive. And that means it's not only about us or outside, say for instance the coalition, but it's about the region. It's about all the neighbors, okay? And so hopefully that there's none of the neighbors get isolated in this event that Iraq's going to do this Development Road Project. It says the increasing presence of foreign and Arab banks in the country is evidence of recovering investment environment and reflects government's efforts to enhance economic stability. It goes on and says, most notably, the positive indicators have contributed to strengthening the investment environment that are regional and international. And what are they talking about? They're talking about cooperation between the region and international entities, and Iraq's openness to Arab and international countries. This has boosted investor confidence, encouraged Arab banks. We saw the Arab Bank come in. They'd had a relationship for 80 years, had some sort of a hiatus, but they're back and ready to open branches. And basically the Arab banks are looking to expand their presence in Iraq, which is relied upon to provide advanced financial services such as trade, finance, that's cross borders, and Islamic banking. That's a big thing in the Middle East. And Islamic banking has key components to it. I think the Sukuk comes to mind. And it goes in addition to supporting the private sector. Well, the private sector is the Development Road Project. And joint investments, which they're talking about. It's packed little sentence there, but that's what they're talking about. Joint investments is the partnerships between the government, the private sector, and other global entities. It says here the steps represent the optimal means for global integration through the entry of international banks, reflecting the return of investor confidence in the Iraqi economy. It says the Iraqi banking reform process undertaken by the government to address the challenges faced in the banking sector and keeping pace with the digital age and international requirements is proceeding along two parallel tracks. Wally showed up, everybody, so this could be interesting. Okay, which it involves reforming private banks led by the Central Bank of Iraq and ensuring compliance with international standards and the implementation of anti-money laundering, counterterrorism, financing requirements, etc. Basically, it says that their game goal is aiming to create a modern banking system that supports the national economy. He says, however, complete success requires accelerating reforms, so they need to move it faster to ensure compliance with international standards, transforming Iraq into an attractive financial center that contributes to economic diversification and the creation of course, new jobs, thus strengthening its regional and international standing. So they're really focused in on getting it right, getting it done. It says, in any case, there's no alternative. I like that part. No alternative but to integrate with the global financial and banking climate after comprehensive reform is completed, with the aim of creating a unified national banking market, directing banking credits towards investment, which is going to be what? Driven by the promising economic stability the country now enjoys. To me, this is like a full court press by the fact that they're talking about modernizing the country's banking and infrastructure systems. And they're talking about there's no alternative but to integrate into the global financial system. They don't have much choice, but I don't know if they have much of a choice. I think that's what their goal is to do so. So we'll see what this next article basically talks about. It says the KDP leader, the Kurdistan region, right, will convince oil companies to resume exports. So this is kind of fascinating because we've been waiting for the Cyan port oil to be going through the pipeline. We know they charged it, but here we are. Let's see what happens. It says the Kurdistan region will seek to persuade oil companies operating within its borders to resume oil exports as part of joint efforts. So that's cooperation, is it not? I think that's pretty much what it means. Between the federal government and the region to resolve the oil crisis. And you're going to see that word cooperation and coordination in the theme for today. It says the most important topics discussed by the Prime Minister Shia al-Sudani during his visit to the region this last few days was the extent of the losses incurred by Iraq due to the halt in Kurdistan's oil exports over the past 2 years. This is what they're telling you, which amounted to about $23 billion. So if you think about it, I don't know if you do the math. I'm not so sure they do the math properly, but I'm not sure how they're calculating it either. But 2 years at around $70 a barrel, 23 billion. Is it plus or minus? I'll let you guys do the math. But it's a lot of money, 23 billion or more. Even if it's only 20, it's still a massive amount of money. And each and every day goes by that they don't flow that oil is a problem. Okay, basically what they're basically doing, it says the region will work diligently to persuade oil companies to resume those exports. I don't know what you guys think, but to me, there's a lot of pressure that's being put on them financially and even globally to get that oil running again. And here's one that's basically Washington. This is the United States. Washington informs Erbil of the necessity of forming the 10th government and resuming oil exports. So two things: constitutional rights for the citizens are fair elections, and secondly, their money. Oil exports is public money. Okay, so the U.S. State Department stresses that Tuesday the need to expedite the formation of the 10th Kurdistan regional government and to resume the region's oil exports through the Turkish Cyan pipeline. And there's a few more paragraphs throughout here, but the bottom line, it says the two sides agreed the most important issue is resuming the export of Kurdistan region's oil, especially since delaying this process would incur huge losses to revenues and the federal budget, a matter that cannot be postponed further. I don't disagree with that. And he says in other aspects of the discussions, there was the importance of ensuring financial rights and entitlements, the constitutional rights of the Kurdistan region, and respecting its federal and constitutional entity was emphasized. So it looks like the USA is telling the region that it's time to expedite the oil flow from the region's exports through that Turkish pipeline. Looks like they're losing a lot of money to the tens of billions and not doing so. The USA is stating it just can't be postponed any further in time. So effectively, what does it sound like? Both sides of the government appear to be in agreement. That's the region and the center. Look, we know that the pipeline's ready to go, and it has been for quite some time. I think since 2023. So what is the holdup? I would say the integration into the global financial system with a new real effective exchange rate, and that's it. That's what I believe. The largest entities in the world know this, I would assume, be sure. The system needs to be interconnected in a timely fashion as to lessen shocks. So if they were to just not have everybody ready at the same time, that could create shocks in markets around the world. And I think that is most definitely a key component. Having an interconnectivity with the region and global partners, trading partners. I don't care what currency you're in. It could be the won, the yen, the dollar, the British pound. It could be many different currencies. It could be all of the regional currencies. They need to have interconnectivity at the same time, cross borders. All right. Okay. Today, is this somewhat fair warning? I think they've had many warnings, and I think that they should be paying attention to the news like I am, because being caught on the wrong side of a trade could be very, very harmful to those that aren't playing by the rules. And I would call out the parallel market, those traders that are doing illegal trade in the streets. They're going to have a problem. If they don't get hooked up to the international system, and I've said it many times before, they're going to have a problem. Okay, that's my opinion, but you guys decide. It says, here's another one. Observers praise the outcomes of al-Sudani's visit to Erbil. So everybody's paying attention to this weekend. It says, politicians and political observers described Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani's visit to Kurdistan region on Saturday as important in terms of timing, results, and positive atmosphere. So the most important in terms of timing, results, and positive atmosphere. They expressed the hope that it would contribute to resolving the common issues between the regional government and the federal government, viewing the visit as a strengthening of the national partnership. So they clearly have a coordination and cooperation between the federal government and the regional government. I think that's really a big thing. Okay, so he goes on and says that the second access that was discussed between al-Sudani and the political leaders and officials in the region revolved around the re-export of oil extracted from the lands of the Kurdistan region through the Turkish port of Cyan, which is considered very important for the federal government's budget. And we all know that. And there's laws that were involved. It was like Iraqi number 13 for the year 2023. They set pricing for oil, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but what do they want? They said there's a necessity, so they use that term, a necessity of an agreement between the two governments to export the oil from Kurdistan region as soon as possible and to provide guarantees to oil-producing companies and export it in the near future. Al-Sudani's visit has significant moral implications, emphasizing the need to accelerate oil exports from the Kurdistan region and they need to unify visions in internal, external positions in order to confront the danger and intensify efforts and coordination in the political, economic, and security fields, and for Iraq to have a unified position regarding what's happening in the region around the country. And they want to open a new page for neighboring countries such as Syria, Iran, and Turkey. Okay. It says Iraq must adapt to the changes taking place in the region. I think Iraq is adapted to taking changes. She's taking her seat back as a mediator on the global stage. Fuad Hussein has been going around talking to many countries. Venezuela, for instance. Look, it's a global thing. And people need to understand that. It's not just about Iraq. It's about all kinds of countries. And that interconnectivity that I talked about is going to include a lot of countries that you might be surprised that are part of the process. But the bottom line is that where they're headed now is that they're looking at more dealing with Iraq at the moment is that they need to have the ability to be able to interconnect into a system. And I believe that they're ready, and they have been. And now we're just talking about timing, but that's just my view. Okay, it says, here's an article. It says, budget tables on the way to Parliament. Okay, so the oil hasn't flowed outside of filling the pipeline in Cyan. Salaries haven't been paid. And the 2024 investment side of the budget has never been exposed. So those are big things. And what are they? They're exchange rate oriented. That's where I believe. I don't know if you guys do, but that's what the data tells me. So it says years of anticipation and promises have left citizens with many questions, just like everybody else. Well, when's this going to happen? What else is going to delay it? Is there, or is it just an interlinking? Is it a synchronization? It could very well be because it's a complex situation. And when I say complex, I really truly mean it, is because pairing currencies all at the same time, everybody's got to be on the same page, or it just doesn't work, or it can be very problematic. There can be shocks in markets. I would think that the IMF, the Bank of International Settlements, the World Bank, U.S. Treasury, U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, every single one of those entities, they know a lot more than we do. All central banks know a lot more than we do. That's just because that's what their job is to know. And so be careful on that. Because I get a lot of folks that are just really concerned. And I'm sorry, but yes, a lot of us have had times of hurt and need for something to give because a lot of people are struggling to this day. The last 4-6 years have been pretty tight for a lot of folks. So anyway, I do have some compassion and understanding. I believe that for 100%. Okay, so this article basically talks about amidst the long wait and mounting economic burdens, Iraqis anticipating the arrival of the general budget schedules as a window to hope that will open the doors to stability and economic improvement. Years of anticipation, they feel like us, and promises left citizens with many questions, just like we do. It says, but this month seems different, with serious talk about the schedules being sent from the government to Parliament. My view, Parliament will never get anything until after the fact, okay? Once they expose that exchange rate, Parliament will finally get it. That's how I see it. This guy, Al-Jabari, tells the news outlets, if the budget schedules arrive these days, they will not be delayed. We will work to pass them quickly inside the Parliament so that their implementation is not delayed, and the government will begin to move forward with the budget schedules related to the projects or items that they will include. So look, these guys are aware of what's going on by now. And so therefore they feel comfortable being able to say that they won't touch it. Well, that's fine, but it'll be after the fact. They might have to approve it in their own way, but the central bank is separate from the government. So it says he explains that all political forces, that's my opinion, by the way, okay, all political forces support the approval of the budget. So everybody's on board. That's what they're saying. And there have been no indications of any party seeking to obstruct or disrupt the schedules, given the urgent need for the budget to secure the entitlements, but constitutional rights. Peoples, everybody, right? That means everybody. That means the politicians. Everybody has constitutional rights in the country. Okay, entitlements of the governance and various social groups, in addition to financial obligations that hinge on its approval. He goes on and continues, submitting and approving the budget will directly harm project funding. Delays in it will harm project funding and implementation of financial plans and various governance, stressing that approving the budget has become a national option supported by all political parties without exception. Those are pretty powerful words coming from the politicians. So they obviously have an understanding of what they're going to expect. He goes on, this MP says that there are no discernible attempts to postpone the schedules until the next parliamentary session. All we are waiting for is the timing of the government's submission. So they're waiting for the government's submission. That's when showtime happens, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. The government, to me, will not expose the budget tables without being ready for interconnectivity to the international financial system. That's just my belief. With all the things that were on the table, whether it's oil or non-oil revenues, the Iraqi stock exchange or international exchange in dinar for cross-border payments outside the dollar, it just probably won't happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying, but they got to do this for it to happen. And so that's what we clearly, in my view, I can clearly see why the budget schedules are apparently, as some people like to call it, delayed. I think that it's not delayed. I think they're ready to go, have been ready to go. They've probably been in place for well over a month or more now. And they just haven't exposed that yet. Why? Because of timing and interconnectivity. Again, it's a brand new system. It's a digital environment, and they need to get it right. That's, I think, probably going to turn out to be a big component of it all. The United States affirms its support. So here again, the United States affirms its support for stability and progress in the Kurdistan region. The U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, Victoria Taylor, affirmed on Tuesday, today, the depth of the friendship and partnership between the United States and the Kurdistan region for the support of the stability and progress in the region, Iraq, and the region as a whole. Okay, as a state as a whole, I should say. Okay, it says the relationship between the Kurdistan regional government and the federal government is and has been well coordinated. And there's mechanisms between the two mechanisms for the region and the center to resolve outstanding issues and overcome obstacles. So basically, again, here there's an acknowledgement about coordination. I talked about coordination. I talk about cooperation. Those are buzzwords, okay? And all of this is basically talking about oil flowing through the pipeline, salaries, the Iraqi stock market, borders, taxes and tariffs. All of that include the government and private sector, along with non-oil revenues. So ultimately, they have a passion, finally, to have that mechanism that they need to get Iraq into the international system. I would say that they have that mechanism in place. I think that Iraq is far more ready than many people believe. But because of the nature of this, I still believe, to me, that there is that interconnectivity issue, and it's something that's beyond our pay grade. We just don't know exactly when they're going to do it, and we're not supposed to know. It's pretty obvious that we're not supposed to know. if you have done research on how central banks work, how cross-border payments work, and how markets trade, insider information is effectively what it is. If they tell you it's going to go tomorrow, if you knew that and you can still buy currency, you could front run. And markets don't work that way. They just don't work that way. Okay, Abu Rafif, he discusses digital connectivity. Interesting, he uses the word digital connectivity and mechanisms. I use those terms. Financial controls with the head of the Federal Import Control. Where is this coming from? Let's find out. So the headquarters in Baghdad, the head of the Communications and Media Communication discussed with Susan Abdullah, head of the General Authority of the allocation of federal revenues, ways to fully cooperate and coordinate. See how this theme is working? And there's coordination between the two bodies as well as mechanisms to support transparency and enhance financial governance in the media and communication centers. These guys are tapping all the bases. Now they've invoked above and beyond the oil, non-oil, the salaries, etc. They're talking about cooperate and coordinate with communications mechanisms to support transparency and to enhance financial governance. Isn't that incredible? Because now you got all these different circumstances that we've been talking about, and now they're adding on the communications, because everybody needs to be communicated to. What did you just do? Why did you just do that? Okay. It says, a statement of the copy received by the news, it states that focused on overcoming obstacles facing work and the role of the Communications and Media Commission in supporting the state treasury with public revenues, that's the citizens' money, which requires doubling the efforts of both sides in exchanging data and developing joint oversight works to tools to ensure optimal use of those national resources. He goes on and says that the Commission adopts the vision of building strategic partnerships with supporting agencies and addressing pending issues to enhance integration between government institutions to serve the public national interest and develop institutional performance. He goes on and includes discussing the preparation of joint analytical reports that make accurate decisions relating to the media and the communication infrastructure, and working directly to link the accounting systems of the two bodies, ensuring that speed and accuracy of audit preparations through periodic reports that can be analyzed and reviewed. It sounds like this is a whole new system. This isn't a paper system like Iraq's been on. This is a digital environment. It's going to have transparency. It's going to have efficiency. It's going to have accountability. That's what it's going to have. Okay. It was agreed to form a joint working team for the two bodies with periodic meetings scheduled to ensure continued coordination once again, and integration performance between the two parties. So look, if you guys see the theme of coordination, cooperation, you see mechanisms, you see the things called transparency. If you follow through that, and you can see the stepping stones. I mean, if you want to get down to the ocean front and you're up on the cliff, you got to go down all those stepping stones. And basically, to get off that cliff, Iraq has been doing that. And they're down to, I think, to the last stepping stone to put those feet in the sand and get a cool swim in the water. And I think it's going to be a big swim. Okay, so lastly, is signing of a memorandum of understanding for cooperation in border control between Iraq and Iran. Okay, so they're talking about border control, security and stability, control of borders, cross-border payments, taxes, tariffs, all that. Okay, customs, fees, non-illegal behavior, no smuggling of dollars. No bringing in drugs in and out, all of that stuff. No financing terrorism. This is what they're talking about, and they're talking about cooperation. coordination, border control at this time. I think it's fascinating. By the way, there's going to be some meetings in Iraq, in Oman again with the United States, who's supporting all this. And they're going to have a meeting with, well, they're talking about Iran. Okay, so ultimately, this gentleman is signing memorandums of understanding between Iraq and Iran for border security. Fascinating. Okay, the source in command says in a statement that during the meeting, many common security topics and issues related to border security between the two countries were discussed, and as well as raising the level of coordination in order to fully control them and prevent infiltration and smuggling operations. Okay? And they go on to say the two sides signing a memorandum of understanding between the two countries exchange information and address obstacles that hinder work in order to reach the highest levels of cooperation and coordination between the borders of these two neighboring countries. So basically, look, you got all these different things. You have the region, the center, you have outside countries, you have borders, and even the parliament are on board. All of these things are coordinated at the same time. That's cooperation. That's a lot of entities to be involved to get it right. I think we're watching them get it right. So thank you for being with us. That's what I have for this evening. I hope you guys like the way I present my content to you guys. If you do, I appreciate you. Hit that like button and subscribe. And thank you very much. Get all the details if you guys would like to support us at Militia Man and Crew. We totally appreciate it. It's a lot of hard work and we like doing it. Thank you. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.